Hello everyone. Welcome to BYK Book Summary. I am Amin. Here we decode the inspiring journey, mental warfare, and empire building life lesson of the world greatest legend. Today topics and their biggest secret are right on your screen. Let's dive in with my AI co-host.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we have a really fascinating stack of source material to get through. It's actually centered around a viral script from the BYK Book Summary.
Yeah, it's a great piece of material. Really rich.
It is. And our mission for this session is, well, it's incredibly clear. We are embarking on this profound exploration of a singular, powerful theme, which is character as destiny.
Right.
We're going to investigate how, one specific, completely devastating tragedy forged a career, and how relentless discipline and consistency can quite literally redefine human potential.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a 20-year journey here, a generational fitness revolution, and really the mechanics of what the sources call a true mental fortress.
Exactly.
And it's a roadmap that takes us far, far beyond the boundaries of sports. We're going to unpack the architecture of long-term loyalty, the psychology of surviving a highly public career slump, and the really rare ability to, dictate the terms of your own ending.
Yeah, that last part is so rare. So for everyone listening to this, as we navigate these events, I want you to actively reflect on your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself how you respond when the pressure is highest, like when life throws a complete curveball at you. Because the mechanisms we're about to decode, they will change how you view your own daily discipline.
For sure.
So to begin, we kind of have to bypass the shiny highlight reels. I want you to picture a scene, and it's a really dark one.
Yeah, it's heavy.
It is. It's December 18th, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
We are in Delhi. The air outside is freezing.
Yeah.
That really damp, bone-chilling cold that is just unique to a Delhi winter.
Right.
It's somewhere between 3 and 4.0 in the morning, and an 18-year-old boy is asleep in his bed.
And you really have to understand the context of what that boy is waking up to do, because this isn't just, a casual morning.
No, not at all. Later that same morning, he is scheduled to resume batting at 40 not out in a Ranji Trophy match against Karnataka. It's at the Throws Shah Kotla Stadium.
Which is huge.
It's massive. For those unfamiliar, the Ranji Trophy is like the premier domestic cricket competition in India. So the stakes for a teenager who is trying to break into the professional sphere are just monumental.
Exactly.
He went to sleep knowing he had to build on those 40 runs to secure his future. But then in the dead of night, the phone rings. His father, Virat Kohli, has suddenly passed away from a cerebral attack.
Wow.
Just like that. Entirely out of nowhere.
Yeah, and the sheer cognitive shock of that moment is almost, well, it's impossible to quantify, really.
I can't even imagine.
Right, because when a teenager experiences the sudden loss of a foundational parent, the brain effectively goes into a state of triage.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Well, the prefrontal cortex, the part that handles logical planning and future goals like a cricket match, it gets completely overwhelmed by the amygdala's grief response.
Oh, wow.
So, in that instant, the cricket match happening later that morning shouldn't just feel irrelevant. Biologically and psychologically, it should basically cease to exist in his mind.
And the expected aftermath reflects exactly that biological reality.
Right.
I mean, the coach of the Delhi team, Chetan Chauhan, he gets informed.
Yeah.
And the coach immediately does the rational thing. He calls up a substitute player. The teammates gathering at the stadium in the morning fog, they start preparing to play without him.
Because of course they do.
Exactly. Everyone in that dressing room completely understands the situation. Nobody expects an 18-year-old who lost his father hours ago to, walk through those doors.
No, I mean, it's the ultimate universally accepted excuse. Society literally demands that you stop. The world pauses for a loss like that.
Right. But this is where we see the first glimpse of what our sources call the mental fortress. Because the 18-year-old boy walks into the dressing room.
Unbelievable.
And he doesn't just show up in street clothes to sit in the corner and cry. He walks in wearing full cricket gear, fully padded.
Yeah.
He steps out onto the pitch, carrying the weight of literally the absolute worst morning of his life, and he scores 90 runs. He literally saves the match for his team.
It's just staggering.
He bats for hours, and then he packs his kit, leaves the stadium, and attends his father's cremation that very evening.
To really understand the mechanics of what he did there, we have to look at the psychological concept of extreme compartmentalization.
Okay.
Because to bat in professional cricket requires immense visual tracking. You need microsecond reaction times and, total presence of mind.
Yeah, you can't be distracted.
Exactly. So to do that while severely sleep deprived, dehydrated from crying, and actively suppressing acute trauma, it requires an internal regulatory system that most human beings simply do not develop in a lifetime, let alone by age 18.
Wow.
Yeah, Coach Hanahan later noted he had rarely seen anything like it in his entire career.
It is staggering. But wait, I have to push back here slightly.
Okay, sure.
Because you don't just wake up at 18, face an earth-shattering loss, and miraculously possess the psychological armor to execute a 90-run innings under professional pressure.
Yeah.
A mental fortress isn't magically gifted to you in a moment of grief. That kind of resilience has to be built. It has to start earlier.
You are absolutely right. And this is really where we transition from the tragedy itself to the foundation that made surviving it possible.
Yeah.
The sources take us backward, away from the stadium to understand the roots. Because character is not forged in the spotlight, it is revealed there.
That's a great point.
It is forged in the quiet, mundane choices made when no one is watching, years before the crisis hits.
So let's dig into those roots. Virat Kohli grew up in a middle-class locality called Uttam Nagar in West Delhi. His father, the man who would later pass away on that December night, was a criminal lawyer.
Right.
And the family was totally obsessed with cricket. The stories say Virat was picking up a bat at the age of 3, literally demanding his father bowl to him in the alleyways.
Yeah.
By 1998, when the West Delhi Cricket Academy opened, a neighbor noticed this kid's relentless street games and told his father to enroll him.
And his first coach, Raj Kumar Sharma, noted something really essential right away. He saw that the kid didn't just have good hand-eye coordination, he had an obsession.
Like a drive.
Exactly, a pathological need to hit the ball. But, raw obsession is dangerous if it isn't channeled through the right ethical framework. Obsession without character just leads to burnout or corruption.
Which brings us to what I think is the absolute sliding doors moment for his entire life.
Oh, absolutely.
A young Virat Kohli was trying out for the Delhi Under-14 team. He had the talent, clearly, but he didn't make the cut. Now, anyone who knows the ecosystem of youth sports, especially in highly competitive environments like Delhi cricket in the late 90s and early 2000s, knows that there is a massive amount of systemic friction.
Oh, yeah.
Politics, back channels.
Yeah, the machinery of youth sports often runs entirely on who you know, not just how well you play.
Right, exactly. And his father, Premnath Kohli, was presented with one of those back channels. The offer was laid out. Just move Virat to a more influential, better-connected cricket club, and his selection for the Under-14 team would be practically guaranteed.
The machinery would just take care of it.
Exactly. Now, honestly, put yourself in the shoes of a parent. Your kid is obsessed. He clearly has the talent. He was unfairly passed over. Taking that shortcut is expedient.
It's the easy way out.
It solves the immediate problem.
Oh.
Many parents would rationalize taking that deal in a heartbeat.
And doing so would have entirely rewired the boy's psychological development.
Really? How?
Well, the father flatly refused. He said no. He stated that his son would only play if he earned his spot purely on merit. And we really need to dissect why this specific refusal is the bedrock of the character's destiny theme.
Is it because it teaches a kid that you can't cheat the grind?
It goes deeper than that, actually. Psychologically, it establishes an internal locus of control. When a parent accepts a bribe or a shortcut, they are silently teaching the child that external forces, politics, money, influence, are more powerful than the child's own effort.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it creates a brittle ego. By refusing the shortcut, the father anchored the belief that integrity is the only acceptable path to advancement. He taught his son that a reward achieved without the requisite suffering is inherently worthless.
So the hard path became the only blueprint his brain recognized.
Exactly. When your foundational role model demonstrates that doing the right thing is more important than immediate success, it literally wires your brain to value the work over the accolade.
Yeah.
That lesson, instilled during the Under-14 selection, built the exact psychological architecture that allowed him to walk out to bat on the morning his father died. He had been conditioned to believe that you show up, you do the work, and you earn your place, regardless of how painful the circumstances are.
Man. And the dividends of that deeply ingrained character start paying out remarkably fast after the 2006 tragedy. It's almost as if surviving that crucible accelerated his maturity exponentially.
It really did.
Because we look just a couple of years later to 2008, and he achieved something incredible. He is named the captain of the Indian team for the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup.
Yeah, just 19 years old.
At 19, carrying the expectations of a nation that treats cricket like a religion, and he leads the team to win the entire global tournament.
And the source material makes a really profound claim here. It says, people who take on responsibility early grow faster than anyone around them.
Yeah.
But it is crucial to understand why this happens biologically and socially. When a person is thrust into a leadership role, when they are forced to be accountable not just for their own performance, but for the performance of others, their learning curve just goes vertical.
They have to adapt.
Exactly. They are forced to develop empathy, strategic thinking, and emotional regulation all simultaneously.
So leading a team to a World Cup victory at 19 isn't just about having good players.
No, not at all. It is the culmination of preparation meeting the moment. He was ready for the crushing burden of leadership because he had already survived the ultimate emotional test back in 2006.
Right.
The external pressure of a cricket match, even a World Cup final, pales in comparison to the internal pressure of grieving a parent while trying to save a match. The tragedy expanded his capacity for stress.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
He clearly had the mental software fully installed at that point. He had the integrity, the leadership capacity, the emotional resilience to block out noise.
Yeah.
But here is where the narrative takes a massive pivot.
Yeah.
Because to sustain that level of excellence over what would become a 2-decade career,
Yeah.
the mental software wasn't enough.
No, he needed more.
He realized he needed to completely upgrade his physical hardware. And that physical transformation didn't just change him. It literally shifted the sporting culture of an entire nation.
Yeah, this is the transition from personal discipline to generational impact. We really have to look at the biomechanics and the physiology of the sport to understand why this was necessary.
Let's paint the picture of what the Indian cricket dressing room looked like before Virat Kohli entered his prime. For listeners who might be used to modern, hyper-optimized professional sports, this might sound shocking.
Oh, it's a completely different world.
Before Kohli, fitness in the Indian cricket team was, to put it mildly, optional. Skill was the only currency that truly mattered.
Right.
If you had the hand-eye coordination to hit a beautiful cover drive or the wrist flexibility to bowl incredible spin, nobody really cared if you were sluggish in the field. Or if you were eating butter chicken and having a few beers the night before a game.
Yeah, it was a very traditional, almost romantic approach to the game. You relied on your hands, your eyes, your natural timing.
Yeah.
The physical body was really just a vessel designed to carry the skill to the pitch. But cricket is physically brutal.
It really is.
You are playing in the extreme heat and humidity of the subcontinent. A batter might be out there for 6 hours, running 22 yards back and forth in heavy protective gear, while facing a leather ball traveling at 150 kilometers per hour.
Right. And Kohli looked at the global standards, looked at his own ambitions, and realized that skill alone was a depreciating asset.
Exactly.
So he initiated an absolute monastic lifestyle overhaul. We're talking about eliminating sugar entirely, giving up alcohol completely. He eventually adopted a plant-based diet to reduce physical inflammation and speed up his recovery times between matches.
Yeah, he completely flipped the script.
He began to treat his physical body as the primary instrument of his performance.
And the mechanism behind this is fascinating because we often separate the mind and the body, right? Treating the mental fortress as this ethereal thing.
Yeah, like it's just willpower.
Right. But Kohli recognized that the body is the biological engine for the mind. When a batter gets physically fatigued, when lactic acid builds up in the legs from running, when dehydration sets in, the brain's cognitive functions actually degrade.
Bro, interesting.
Decision-making becomes slightly delayed. Reaction times slow down by a fraction of a second.
And a fraction of a second is the difference between hitting the ball and getting your stumps knocked out.
Precisely. The mental fortress crumbles when the physical walls give way. By optimizing his diet, reducing his body fat, and increasing his cardiovascular endurance to an extreme degree, he was ensuring his brain had the optimal biological support to execute his skills under extreme pressure, even in the final hours of a grueling match.
But I want to pause and challenge this because changing your own diet and dragging yourself to the gym is hard enough. But how does one player eating a disciplined lunch manage to shift the culture of an entire international dressing room?
It's a great question.
I mean, athletes have massive egos. You have veteran players who have been succeeding with the old methods for a decade. You're telling me they just passively accepted a 20-something kid coming in, changing the rules and making them look bad? There must have been immense friction. Oh, there was absolutely friction. Culture does not change without resistance. But the way Kohli overcame that resistance was through the undeniable power of the mirror test.
The mirror test.
Yeah, he didn't just preach fitness in team meetings. He embodied the results on the field in a way that, well, humiliated the old standard.
Humiliated how? Like, practically speaking.
Think about the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
If you are batting with Virat Kohli and you hit the ball into the outfield, Kohli is sprinting to the other end so fast that he is ready for a second run while you are still jogging your first.
Oh, wow.
If you can't keep up with him, you look glaringly inadequate on national television. In the field, he was diving, stopping runs, throwing with boundless energy in the 40th over of the game, while others were visibly panting.
So he just outworked everyone in real time.
Exactly. He weaponized his fitness.
Yeah.
It created an environment of intense peer pressure that was rooted in pure excellence.
Ah, so it wasn't a mandate from management. It was a survival mechanism for the rest of the team. If you weren't as fit as him, you literally couldn't play alongside him without looking like a liability.
Exactly. The generation of players that came after him looked at the captain, looked at the best player in the world, and realized the old way was dead.
Yeah.
To survive in his team, you had to pass rigorous fitness tests like the yo-yo test, which measures cardiovascular endurance. The source actually quotes the legendary West Indian batsman Brian Lara, who summarized this perfectly.
What did he say?
Lara said, "He has changed the face of cricket and how you prepare for the game. The discipline that he has stands out always."
And the statistical proof of this biological and technical dominance is mind-blowing. We are talking about an unprecedented milestone here. Virat Kohli became the absolute only batter in the history of the sport to achieve 900-plus ICC rating points across all three formats of the game simultaneously.
Yeah, that's insane.
Now, let's translate that for the non-cricket listeners, because you really need to understand how biologically contradictory this achievement is.
It is an athletic anomaly. And to understand why, we really have to look at the three formats: test matches, one-day internationals, or ODIs and T20s.
Right. So Test cricket is the traditional format. It lasts for 5 days. You wear white clothes. They use a red ball that swings unpredictably in the air. The goal is survival.
Right.
It requires infinite patience, leaving the ball alone, wearing down the opponent psychologically and physically. It's essentially a 5-day game of chess.
Exactly.
Then you have T20 cricket, which is a 3-hour explosive sprint. It requires hyper-aggression from ball one. You take massive risks. You innovate. You try to hit the ball out of the park. It's like blitz chess while someone is actively trying to punch you.
That's a great way to put it.
And then ODI is a complex 8-hour hybrid of the two, a marathon where you have to sprint the last 5 miles.
So, to be the absolute best in the world in all three formats at the exact same time, which is what crossing that 900-point threshold signifies, means you have mastered entirely different muscle twitch responses, entirely different cognitive pacing strategies, and entirely different risk assessment algorithms.
Wow.
You are basically the best marathon runner, the best 800-meter runner, and the best 100-meter sprinter in the world concurrently.
It's absurd, and it proves your point.
Yeah.
It was only possible because his physical engine was so highly tuned that he could rapidly switch between those cognitive demands without his body breaking down.
Right.
But all of this, the mental fortress, the dietary sacrifices, the physical dominance, it wasn't just for a 3-year peak. This physical foundation is exactly what allowed him to play the ultimate long game.
A long game, yes.
We are talking about sustaining this output over 20 years. And nowhere is the concept of the long game more deeply illustrated than in his loyalty to his franchise team.
Franchise sports present a very different psychological challenge than national team sports, you know?
Yeah.
It introduces the dynamics of extreme capitalism into the athletic endeavor.
Totally. Let's break down his record in the Indian Premier League, the IPL,
Mm-hmm.
because the numbers are staggering. He has played 18 seasons, from the inception of the league in 2008 all the way to 2025.
Yeah.
And he has played them for exactly one franchise, the Royal Challengers Bengaluru, or RCB. Over that time, he scored 8,661 career IPL runs in 267 matches. That makes him the all-time leading run scorer.
Wow.
He holds the record for the most IPL centuries with 8. He's the absolute only player in the history of the league to play every single season for a single franchise.
And in the ecosystem of modern professional sports, that level of loyalty is essentially extinct.
It really is.
We live in the era of hypermobility, free agency, transfer portals, ring chasing. When a superstar player of his caliber is on a team that consistently fails to win championships, the standard operating procedure is to demand a trade or leave in free agency to join a super team. Loyalty in modern sports is frequently penalized. It is viewed as a lack of competitive ambition.
And let's be honest, RCB had some brutally lean years. They were kind of the tragic heroes of the IPL. They always seemed to have explosive talent, massive fan support, but they would routinely collapse in crucial moments. They were mocked for never crossing the finish line.
Exactly. And the pressure to leave must have been immense.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, for 18 years, when they weren't winning, he stayed. When the media dissected their failures, he stayed. Consider the leverage he had. Other franchises would have offered him astronomical sums of money, unprecedented control, or the glamour of an almost guaranteed championship structure, yet he refused.
Why, though? Is it just stubbornness? I mean, isn't loyalty in franchise sports sometimes just a trap? Sometimes you have to leave to win.
It's a fair question,
Yeah.
but the source makes a beautiful distinction here regarding his identity. He didn't just play for RCB, he was RCB. His personal brand, his emotional investment, became inextricably fused with the franchise's struggle. Leaving would have been taking the shortcut to a trophy.
Oh, it's a shortcut.
Right, and remember his psychological foundation. His father taught him at age 14 that a reward achieved through a shortcut is inherently worthless. If he had won a trophy by joining a super team, it wouldn't have meant anything to him internally. He had to win it there or not at all.
Wow. It all traces back to that under-14 refusal. That refusal to take the easy way out makes the eventual payoff so profoundly sweet. Because the long game finally paid off.
It really did.
18 years of carrying that franchise culminated in the 2025 IPL season.
Total vindication.
Absolute vindication.
Yeah.
In 2025, RCB finally won their first ever IPL title, defeating the Punjab Kings in the final. And the most poetic part is that Kohli wasn't just a passenger on a championship team at the end of his career.
No, not at all.
He was the driving force. In that 2025 season, despite his age, he was the tournament's third highest run scorer. He scored 657 runs.
And let's look at the metrics there. An average of 54.75 and a strike rate of 146.5.
Let's pause to define that for the non-cricket listener, because strike rate is crucial to understanding T20 impact. The strike rate measures how many runs a batter scores per 100 balls faced.
Right.
So a strike rate of 100 means you are scoring 1 run per ball. In the modern game, a strike rate of 130 is solid. To have a strike rate of 146.5 means you are scoring incredibly fast, taking calculated risks, and accelerating the game constantly.
Exactly.
To do that while averaging nearly 55 runs in innings means you are aggressive and you almost never get out. It is elite efficiency.
It is the ultimate lesson in delayed gratification. 18 years of enduring the jokes, the losses, the physical toll, all validated by simply staying the course.
Now, while the 2025 championship was the emotional peak of his IPL career, the source material introduces a concept called monuments of consistency. Because to understand his peak, we have to talk about the 2016 IPL season.
Oh, 2016.
It is widely considered the statistical Mount Everest of the sport.
The 2016 season basically defies the normal mathematical boundaries of a cricket tournament.
It really does. In the 2016 IPL season, Virat Kohli scored 973 runs. I need to emphasize the absurdity of that number. He scored 4 centuries in that single 2-month tournament. His batting average was 81.08.
To contextualize this, an excellent elite IPL season for a top-tier batter is around 500 or maybe 600 runs.
Right.
To approach 1,000 runs in a format where you only have 20 overs to bat and you are playing games every 3 days, traveling across India in the sweltering summer heat, it borders on science fiction.
Let's try to understand how he did that. I don't want to just say he was focused. How do you physically and mentally sustain that?
Yeah.
Think about the typical sporting records we see. Most records are like impressive weather events. A hurricane of good form that eventually dissipates.
Right, a hot streak.
Yeah, player gets hot, the ball looks like a beach ball to them, they break a record, and then regression to the mean kicks in. The game evolves, bowlers figure out their weaknesses, and the record normalizes.
But 2016 wasn't a hot streak. It was a structural anomaly.
Right. The source calls it a monument of consistency. It wasn't just luck. It was the result of his fitness revolution, allowing him to never tire.
Exactly.
When other batters lost their shape in the 18th over of an innings because their core muscles were exhausted, Kohli's biomechanics remained perfectly intact because of the grueling hours in the gym. He built a stone pyramid while everyone else was building sandcastles. Nobody had ever hit 4 centuries in a season before, and nobody's even come close to that 973-run mark since.
And yet, as spectacular as that single season was, if we zoom out to the macro view, the true monument is the entirety of the 20-year journey.
Yeah.
You look at the final aggregate numbers: 85 international centuries, 9,230 test runs, the 8,661 IPL runs. This reinforces a really vital lesson about human endeavor that the source highlights.
Which is?
True consistency is not about possessing a sudden magical stroke of genius. It is the relentless aggregation of disciplined days.
The aggregation of days. I love that phrasing.
Yes. It's waking up, adhering to the diet, going to the gym, facing the bowling machine year after year, even when the motivation fades. The 85 centuries are just the visible tip of an enormous iceberg made of invisible, monotonous, deeply unglamorous discipline.
But I want to throw a wrench into this narrative, because even monuments weather storms.
No, for sure.
You can build the strongest mental fortress in the world. You can optimize your diet. You can aggregate all these disciplined days. But you are still a human being playing a professional sport. And sports are inherently designed to find your flaws and break you.
Yeah, they are.
How does a player with a 2-decade career handle the inevitable biological decline? How does that mental fortress hold up when the fundamental mechanics of your game seem to vanish and the entire world decides your time is up?
This brings us to the most relatable and perhaps the most agonizing phase of his career. Because everyone listening to this, no matter what profession they are in, will eventually face a severe slump.
Right.
The moment where the things that used to work effortlessly suddenly stop working entirely.
And his slump was highly public, heavily scrutinized, and incredibly prolonged. We have to talk about what the source calls the myth of the full stop. There was a dark period in his recent career, 3 agonizing years, where Virat Kohli, the century machine, did not score a single international century, 3 full years.
And the psychological toll of that is immense. When you have conditioned your brain to receive the massive dopamine hit of scoring centuries, and suddenly that tap is turned off for 36 months, the brain essentially goes into withdrawal.
Wow.
You start questioning your own reality.
And the external noise was deafening. The media ecosystem in India, which caters to over 1 billion incredibly passionate cricket fans, was swift and brutal.
Yeah, they were.
They repeatedly wrote his career's obituary. They brought in experts to analyze his eyesight, suggesting his reflexes had slowed down. They scrutinized his head position, his footwork, his motivation. The consensus was that the king was dead. It was time to move on to the younger generation.
But this is where you really need to pay close attention to the mechanics of resilience. When we experience failure, our immediate cognitive bias is to assume that the current downward trajectory is permanent. We view the slump as a full stop. But slumps are temporary phases, provided the foundational architecture is intact.
Wait, but how does he know it's just a phase? How do you distinguish between a temporary slump and actual permanent athletic decline?
You fall back on your diagnostic tools, namely your work ethic. If you have real talent and you are still executing the relentless daily preparation, the underlying mechanics of your greatness haven't vanished. They are merely misaligned.
Right.
Perhaps a slight mechanical flaw in how his bat was coming down, compounded by the immense anxiety of the drought. Kohli's response to those 3 years of media obliteration wasn't to retire. And crucially, it wasn't to completely reinvent his technique in a panic.
He didn't overhaul everything.
No, he relied on the exact same mental fortress that got him there in the first place. He compartmentalized the media noise just as he had compartmentalized his grief at age 18.
And the ultimate demonstration of that compartmentalization, the moment the fortress proved to be utterly impenetrable, happened at the 2022 T20 World Cup.
Ah, the match against Pakistan at the MCG.
Oh, this is the pinnacle. I need to set the stage for this meticulously, because even if you have never watched a game of cricket in your life, you can feel the pressure of this scenario.
You really can.
It is October 2022. We are at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Australia. There are over 90,000 screaming fans packed into the stadium. It is India versus Pakistan, which carries a geopolitical and emotional weight that dwarfs almost any other rivalry in global sports.
Yeah, the sheer decibel level in that stadium, combined with the expectations of hundreds of millions watching on television, creates a psychological pressure cooker that literally alters a player's heart rate and breathing patterns.
And the situation on the field is incredibly dire. India is chasing a target. It comes down to the final over of the match. India needs 16 runs off the last 6 balls.
Which is a lot.
It's a ton. And who is bowling? Harris Rolfe. At that moment, Ralph is one of the fastest, most dangerous fast bowlers on the planet, hurling the ball at over 150 kilometers per hour. As the source describes it, India's collective heart had effectively stopped.
Mathematically and historically, the odds in that specific scenario are heavily, heavily stacked in favor of the bowler.
But Kohli is on strike. And what happens next is the climax of everything we've discussed. Facing immense pace, needing boundaries desperately, Kohli stays supernaturally calm. Ralph bowls a delivery that is known as back of a length.
Let's pause and translate that for the listeners.
Yes, please. What exactly makes a back of a length delivery so difficult to hit for a six?
Well, a back of a length delivery means the bowler pitches the ball shorter on the pitch, closer to himself, so that by the time it reaches the batter, it has bounced up to chest or head height.
Okay.
Biomechanically, it is incredibly difficult to generate power against a ball rearing up at you at 150 kilometers per hour. To hit that specific ball straight back over the bowler's head for a six is akin to a baseball player taking a 95-mile-per-hour fastball aimed at their letters and hitting it dead center over the batter's eye off their back foot.
Oh.
It requires an alignment of physics, reaction time, and sheer audacity that is almost incomprehensible.
Yet Kohli does exactly that. With 90,000 people screaming, he tracks the ball, shifts his weight, and hits a miraculous straight six down the ground.
Unbelievable shot.
A shot that cricket purists still analyze frame by frame because the physics of generating that much power from that position just don't make sense. He then hits another six off the next ball, entirely shifting the momentum, and eventually guides India to victory, finishing 82 not out.
But what is truly fascinating about that 82 not out is not the biomechanics of the shot. No, technical skill, no matter how elite, breaks down under that specific kind of panic if the mind is not entirely secure. That innings was the ultimate masterclass in internal cognitive regulation. It was cognitive reframing at its absolute peak.
How so?
Think about the sensory overload. The noise, the speed of the ball, the desperation of the required run rate. The amygdala should be screaming at him to panic, to swing wildly.
Right, fight or flight.
But inside his head, there was silence. He had distilled the entire chaotic universe down to a single binary objective. Watch the ball, hit the ball. The mental fortress we keep talking about isn't about ignoring pressure. It's about not allowing the external variables to alter your internal physiological state.
That makes a lot of sense.
What was happening outside never manifested on the inside. He defeated the slump on the biggest stage imaginable simply by refusing to let the moment dictate his pulse.
And having conquered that agonizing slump, having proven that his mind could withstand the heaviest psychological artillery the sport could throw at him, Kohli earned something incredibly rare. Not just in elite sports, but in human experience generally.
He earned the leverage to dictate his own timeline.
Exactly. The power to script his own finale. Which brings us to the final chapters of our sources, focusing on the ultimate cinematic closure. We have to talk about the 2023 ODI World Cup, held in India.
Oh, the statistics from that tournament alone are staggering.
They are historic. In the 2023 ODI World Cup, he scored 765 runs. That is the highest number of runs ever scored by any human being in a single edition of a World Cup. He hit 3 centuries in that tournament. But the raw data pales in comparison to the narrative poetry of the semi-final match.
The semi-final against New Zealand, this is where the sociology of Indian cricket and his personal journey collide perfectly.
Let's paint this picture. The match is at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Mumbai is the spiritual epicenter of Indian cricket, but more importantly, it is the home city of Sachin Tendulkar.
Right.
For context, Sachin is the undisputed deity of the previous generation of cricket. He was the man who held the record for the most ODI centuries in history with 49. It was a record most experts believe would outlive us all. Sachin is the man Kohli grew up idolizing in those alleyways in West Delhi.
And Sachin is sitting right there in the VIP stands watching the match unfold.
Right. So, Kohli is batting. He is entirely in the zone. He systematically dismantles the New Zealand bowling attack. And then the moment arrives. He scores his 100th run in the innings. It is his 50th ODI century. He breaks Sachin Tendulkar's all-time, supposedly unbreakable record.
Consider the layers of narrative weight in that exact second.
It is the definition of cinematic closure. He breaks the world record for centuries, surpassing his childhood idol in the idol's home stadium on the biggest possible stage of a World Cup semifinal, with the idol literally standing up in the stands applauding him.
That's amazing.
As the source material correctly notes, if you pitch this to a Hollywood studio executive, they would reject the script for being far too contrived and unbelievable. It is too perfect.
But the true emotional crescendo of that moment goes far beyond breaking a statistical record or passing a torch.
Yes, because of what he does next. Right after he bows to Sachin in the stands, acknowledging the idol, he does something deeply personal. He takes his helmet off, he looks up, and he points to the sky. He dedicates the pinnacle moment of his entire life's work to his father.
The man who passed away on December 18th, 2006.
17 years later, 17 years after, an 18-year-old boy had to walk into a freezing damp dressing room in Delhi to bat on the morning his father died.
Yeah.
He is now standing under the blinding stadium lights of a World Cup semifinal, statistically recognized as the greatest century maker in the history of the format, telling his father, "Look at what we built."
This specific moment forces us to examine a profound psychological reality, how grief can be transmuted into greatness over the course of a lifetime.
Absolutely.
The acute trauma of losing his father didn't break him. It became the very bedrock of his resolve. Every grueling, exhausting gym session, every refused shortcut, every instance of choosing the incredibly hard path over the easy one was all a direct continuation of the character he was forced to forge on that darkest morning. He didn't just play a sport. He built a 20-year monument to honor a promise made in the silence of tragedy.
That is beautifully said. The source script sums it up perfectly. It says, "This is not cricket. This is a human life lived fully."
Exactly.
And because he lived it so fully, because he honored his discipline so completely, he gained the ultimate power any professional can achieve. He gained the power to end it on his own terms.
The power to end is arguably the hardest skill for an elite performer to master.
Why is that? Why do athletes struggle so much with retirement?
Because of identity fusion and adrenaline addiction.
Okay.
When you have been a global icon for 20 years, the sport is not just what you do, it is who you are. The dopamine hit of a crowd cheering is a biological addiction. Most athletes cannot voluntarily walk away from that.
Right, they just keep hanging on.
They hold on too long, their bodies inevitably fail, their reflexes slow down, they become a liability, they get unceremoniously dropped from the team, and they fade away in a series of diminished returns. It is usually a tragic, drawn-out decline.
But look at how Kohli bypassed that entirely. We move forward to the 2024 ICC T20 World Cup final against South Africa. The context here is suffocating. India, despite all its talent and wealth, had not won an ICC tournament trophy in 11 agonizing years.
A huge drought.
The weight of expectation from over 1 billion fans to break this curse was literally crushing the team.
It was a generational drought that was creating a severe psychological block for the entire squad.
But in the final, Kohli steps up when it matters most. He scores a crucial, anchoring 76 runs. He wins the Player of the Match award. India wins the match in an incredibly tense, thrilling finish.
The relief was crazy.
The emotion on the field is raw. Players are weeping. Rohit Sharma is crying on the pitch. Virat Kohli is crying. The sheer overwhelming relief of breaking an 11-year curse is palpable. And then the post-match trophy presentation happens.
He steps up to the microphone.
He steps up to the microphone, literally holding the Player of the Match award in his hand, standing at the absolute summit of the T20 format as a world champion. And he casually, definitively announces his retirement from T20 international cricket.
Wow.
Right there, on the spot.
Champion, then immediate closure.
Exactly. And the source notes that he repeated this exact same display of agency a year later, in May 2025, by retiring from Test cricket. Again, completely on his own terms.
Yeah.
He didn't subject himself or the fans to a prolonged, agonizing farewell tour where everyone awkwardly watches his form dip. There was no manufactured drama, just a clear statement. Just a champion looking around, realizing his narrative arc in that format is perfectly complete, and firmly closing the book himself.
By stepping away while still holding the trophy, while still demonstrably capable of winning Player of the Match in a World Cup final, he preserved the absolute integrity of his legacy.
He really did.
He dictated the final sentence of his own sporting biography. He proved that the mental fortress isn't just about enduring pressure. It's also about having the clarity to know when the job is done.
What an unbelievable journey. We started this conversation at 4 a.m. on a freezing December night in Delhi in 2006, and we've ended it under the confetti of World Cup victories in 2024 and 2025.
It's quite the arc.
It is. I want to synthesize this entire deep dive for you, the listener, by extracting and expanding upon the 5 core lessons pulled directly from our BYK Book Summary source material. Because as we promised at the beginning, these aren't just cricket lessons. These are fundamental operating principles for a meaningful life.
They are universal truths about human potential.
Exactly. Let's break them down. Lesson 1. Character is proven on the worst days. It is incredibly easy to perform when the sun is shining, your health is perfect, and you feel motivated. But December 18, 2006 proves that true character is the ability to compartmentalize trauma, show up, and do the necessary work when your personal world is literally falling apart.
Lesson 2. Consistency is a superpower, but it is deeply unglamorous. You do not hit 85 centuries overnight. You achieve monuments of consistency through the relentless aggregation of disciplined days. It is the boring, repetitive choices, what you eat, how you train, compounded over decades.
Lesson 3. Loyalty is a long-term investment. Think of his 18 years with RCB, suffering through brutal, humiliating losses. The temptation to take a shortcut, to join a super team, is always present. But the long game, anchored in integrity, always eventually pays off with a sweeter vindication if you simply stay the course.
Lesson 4. Slumps are temporary phases, not full stops. When the world loudly writes your obituary, as they did during his 3-year drought, you must trust your foundational mechanics. If you maintain the work ethic, a failure is just a misalignment, not an end to your capability.
And finally, Lesson 5. Your body is your primary instrument. The standard you aggressively set for your own physical and mental preparation will inevitably ripple out, creating a peer pressure of excellence that can reshape the culture of everyone around you.
When you look at those 5 pillars together, you realize that Virat Kohli represents something much larger than batting statistics.
Yeah.
He is an idea. He is the living embodiment of the fact that if you carry enough hunger, and if you apply an unrelenting monastic discipline to your craft, the ceiling you assumed existed above your potential simply disappears. He proved that being highly disciplined isn't boring. It is the most legendary way you can possibly live.
I love that. The ceiling simply disappears. Which brings us right back to where we started our conversation today. We talked about origin stories and how we usually expect that clean, sunny highlight reel, but how true greatness is often forged in the messy, agonizing reality of a crucible moment.
Very true.
So I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering thought, something for you to actively mull over as you step away from this deep dive and go about the rest of your day.
A direct application of the mental fortress to their own circumstances.
Yes, if character truly is destiny, and if relentless consistency is the only vehicle that actually gets you to that destiny, I want you to look closely at your own life right now. Look at your career trajectory. Look at your personal relationships. Look at your long-term goals. What long game are you currently playing where you might be tempted right in this moment to take a convenient shortcut? And more importantly, what monumental thing could you build if you simply decided to embrace the friction, refuse the shortcut, and stay the course?
It's the ultimate question.
Think about it.
So friends, that was the complete breakdown. Make sure to take a screenshot of this growth gift, this infographic, so this lesson stay with you. If you want to learn from legends every single day, join our community. I am Amin. Always remember, read more, think deeper. Let me know in the comments who we should cover next. See you in next episode.